You stole my project idea, didn't you, Michael? The moment the senior employee shouted at me, I became the culprit who stole his plan. Both of us work in the planning department, but my colleagues put much more trust in him. The differences between us seem as vast as heaven and earth. Naturally, everyone looked at me with cold eyes. He's not someone who would do such a thing. Only one woman stood up for me, but to no avail, as I was eventually demoted. I don't want to lose the chance to see you. When she shed tears, a flame reignited in my almost surrendered heart, and I made a decision to change myself, who had always been running away. I absolutely won't give up like this. My name is Michael, 28 years old. I work in the planning department of a certain bread manufacturer. It's a fairly well-known company, and I never thought I'd be able to work in a place like this, in the planning department. Because I am. A planning meeting tomorrow. Is your proposal ready? Yes, David. I was startled when suddenly addressed from behind and turned around. A senior employee named David, with a friendly and pleasant smile, extended his hand to me. Let me check it for you. Yes. Please do. The moment I handed over the already finalized proposal to him, I felt a bit uneasy. Truthfully, I didn't want to do this. Especially not to him. Because he is. The chief has already checked and given the okay. Well, I always say, the more eyes on it, the better, right? It will make the meeting go smoother, and above all, it's for your sake. Yes. He always says it's for my sake. He kindly checks my proposals and sometimes gives me advice on my work. And then, in the end, he always says the same thing. Nope, this is not good at all. Not good at all. Look here, for example. It's unclear what the target market age range is. The concept is delicious bread for everyone, from children to the elderly. No, that won't hit for sure. Is not going to pass the meeting. Is that so? Yes. And also, this part here, the phrasing of this section. With a friendly smile on his face, David, the seemingly kind senior, starts pointing out one flaw after another in my proposal. And then, in the end, he delivers his usual line. Obviously, it's really tough to come up with plans without a college degree. Just kidding. Just kidding. Well, you must have a lot of difficulties too. Don't say we're quitting just because of this, okay? Michael, after all, you're the rising star among high school graduates. While putting his arm around my shoulder, David whispered in my ear. True to his word, my highest educational attainment is high school diploma. In a planning department which is filled mostly with college graduates, my presence is an anomaly. It's been a year since I started working, but I still feel out of place. Sometimes, employees blatantly mock me for being a high school graduate, and David is the ringleader of them. He acts like a kind senior on the front, but in reality, he seems to enjoy making fool of a high school graduate in the same workplace more than anyone else. Well then, let's consider this proposal scrapped. You'll be an observer once again in tomorrow's meeting, Michael. Yes. Thank you very much. No problem. It's a senior's duty to give proper guidance to juniors. David left in a good mood, holding my proposal in his hand. I know exactly what he has intended to do with it, without having to ask. The concept of this plan is delicious bread for everyone, from children to the elderly. At the next day's planning meeting, I listened, shrinking in a corner of the room, as he proudly presented his plan. Not bad at all. That's David for you. Thank you very much. With the manager's praise, David wrapped up his proposal presentation with an ear-to-ear grin, as if it had really been his idea from the start. Once again, I had my idea stolen by him. You heard David's presentation, right? I'm not saying you have to match that level, but couldn't you show a bit more enthusiasm? After the meeting, the manager called me aside and sighed. Unable to say that it was my plan or that my idea was stolen, I just looked down silently. Weren't you supposed to present a plan this time? You're the only one who hasn't submitted anything this year. What have you been doing? I'm sorry. With another deep sigh, the manager said bitterly, I hate to say this, but given your background, shouldn't you be working twice as hard? Yes. So even if I complained that David was stealing my ideas, the manager would probably not listen to me. On one side, there's David, an elite with a degree from a prestigious private university. And on the other, there's me, a high school graduate who was a term employee until a year ago. From the beginning, my credibility is far surpassed of yours, David himself had said numerous times. A gold bricker. On my way back to my desk, I clearly heard such a voice. A gold bricker in the planning department who barely makes any plans and is constantly scolded by the manager. They probably think I got into the company through connections or something, being a high school graduate. That was the mutual misconception among my colleagues. I'm concerned David is overloaded. In addition to his own tasks, he's still saddled with looking after him to uphold the department's commitments. It's not like that. I know my leadership isn't enough for him to show his potential abilities. That's what I feel sorry about and think about whenever I'm alone. Surrounded by colleagues, David put on an artificial tired face and looked down. While David was receiving sympathetic voices from those around him, cold stares flew at me. I was very sure they must have wanted to say how troubling he must be for such a kind person. See, just as I thought. Every time David grabs the triumph, I felt downcast. As long as he's here, it is impossible for me to gain trust in this workplace, except for one person. Aren't you getting frustrated? Being on the receiving end all the time. Peering into my face, she whispered in my ear. Whoa, it was past 8 p.m. Thinking I was the only one left, I was startled. Did I scare you? Yes, but why do you look so pleased, Chief? Because, Michael, you finally noticed me. With a beautiful, well-proportioned face, she smiled like a child who had successfully played a prank. Chief Emily, offering me a cup of coffee, said with a smile, I've been calling you for a while. Really? I didn't notice at all. Still so focused, aren't you? Were you thinking about your next project? Yes. Even though whatever I come up with will just be snatched away by David again. I'm just setting myself up for disappointment. I can help but laugh at myself. However, Emily never mocks me. I knew she was that kind of person. Your proposal was really interesting. That's too bad. David will surely take it all the way to the product. I'm saying that's too bad because it wasn't you who presented it. Of course, the project itself was great, but I was excited because it was your idea. I don't really understand. As I cast my eyes down, Emily gently patted my shoulder. I'm expecting your next proposal. In the planning department, only Emily knows David's true nature. When I had just joined the company, my plan was stolen by David for the first time. I was shocked and disheartened. She spoke to me during that time. She listened to my story without any doubt. It would be easy for me to help you out. But you see, I'm your superior, Michael. I want you to overcome challenges on your own and become strong enough not to lose to someone dishonest. Emily, who studied marketing at a prestigious state university and has produced numerous best-selling products, is highly trusted for her excellence. If she complains about this issue to the manager, he would surely listen. However, she chose not to do so because she understands what I needed most from the early stage of my stint here. Instead, are you interested in this project? She handed me a pile of papers. It was the material for a project that was unanimously approved for product development at last month's planning meeting. The material indicates that Emily, the project proponent, has been appointed as the project team leader. In short, she is inviting me to join her project team. Michael, why don't we give it a try together? I'm sorry, but I can't handle such responsibilities. There you go again. Why do you hold back when I'm suggesting that you join the team? That's because if I join the team, the other members would oppose, I know. They would surely be indignant about being seen on the same level as a high school graduate. With an untrustworthy person on the teamwork would suffer. It is undeniable that the team would have a greater chance of success without me. Anyway, it's impossible for me, I replied. That's too bad. I've already decided to include you in the team. I'm definitely going to persuade you. Emily chuckled while ticking her smooth hair behind her ear. She was always a kind and reliable boss, but sometimes she could be quite assertive. For some reason, she was the only one who steadfastly refused to give up on me, despite the fact that I was considered a burden. And Emily was a person of action. From the next day, I started receiving invitations to join the project team whenever there was a chance. Michael, Do you have time for lunch today? Let me persuade you over a leisurely meal. We need your presence for this project to succeed. No matter how much I refused, she never gave up. On the contrary, Emily became more bold in her invitations day by day. Come on. You'll join the team, right, Michael? I'll do this for you every day if you do. Chief, I'm pretty good at this, aren't I? Does it feel good? Yes, yes. Then, what are you doing, Emily? This is an office. The one who rushed over to us, where Emily was close to me, with a worried look, was David. What do you mean? I'm just massaging Michael's shoulders. What about it? You're too close. And Michael, you shouldn't let your boss massage your shoulders. Oh, actually, I'm the one who asked him. I really want Michael on my team. Huh? David looked dumbfounded as Emily explained. Indeed, she is trying every possible way to persuade Michael to join the project team because she has high expectations for me, and she expects a lot from my outputs. That's why she subtly warned David not to underestimate me in the future. Emily had tactfully put David in his place. I'm not sure if David realized her intention or not. However, he suddenly started to tremble and looked unusually flustered. Then I'll take his spot. Please, Emily, count me in on your team. David, you are talented, indeed. Right. I'm sure I can be a great help to you, Emily. Let me think. Emily pretended to consider his offer for a while, and then she decisively shook her head. What? I appreciate the sentiment, but you're not on my list this time. What? Why not, Emily? I must go now. See you, Michael. Next time, I'll definitely persuade you. Wait, please. Waving at me, Emily walked away confidently. After that, David hastily followed Emily. As he left, he shot me a sharp, piercing glare. David had feelings for Emily and was aiming to be her boyfriend. I heard such rumors not long after that incident. At the same time, I learned David's misunderstanding, but by then, it was too late. This plan is really good. It was right before the planning meeting the following month. David, as usual, came to me offering to check my proposal. However, unexpectedly, he didn't criticize it. Instead, he praised the plan I had created. This would work. If it were up to me, I'd decide to commercialize it immediately. It's a sure hit. Really? Is it that good? Yes. I had a lot of confidence in this plan I had completed. Though I was a bit suspicious, being acknowledged by David made me genuinely happy, and I let my guard down. Generally it's okay. Just corrected this part, and it's perfect. Which part? Just wait here. I'll come up with some modifications. Can I borrow your proposal for a while? Yes, sure. In about an hour. He really did return the proposal. Let's both do our best tomorrow, he said, with words of encouragement and a firm handshake. So, I didn't notice David's plot. If only I had been a bit more suspicious and shown the proposal to Emily too. Wait a minute. It was the next day, just as I began my presentation of the plan. In the meeting room, filled with the planning department members including the manager, David suddenly stood up. Excuse me, could you listen to me for a moment? What's the matter, David? Is something wrong? The manager, along with everyone else in the room, focused their attention on David. He looked around at everyone's faces, then, with a determined expression, uttered words that shocked everyone. Michael, you stole my project, didn't you? What? Look at this. Ignoring my speechlessness, David started distributing documents to everyone. It was a project proposal with the exact same concept and ideas as the one I had previously distributed. What's going on here, David? Manager, actually. The other day, Michael came to me asking for advice. He couldn't come up with a completely new project and wanted some hints. So, I talked to him about a project I had been planning. I trusted Michael, that's why I shared it. But now, with a voice trembling with sadness and his eyes cast down, David seemed utterly betrayed. Everyone's gaze shifted from him to me, standing in disbelief. Their eyes were cold, not doubting David's claim for a second, labeling me a plagiarist. That's not true. Michael wouldn't do something like plagiarize. I thought I heard a voice defending me, but from that point my memory becomes hazy. My memory only resumed from the time when the planning meeting had been cancelled. And there I was, left alone in the meeting room with just the manager. Hey, are you listening, Michael? Yes, I'm listening. I answered dazedly as the manager slammed his hand on the table and yelled. I still couldn't grasp the reality that I had fallen into David's trap. However, I had a clear sense that this incident would turn things from bad to worse. I vaguely foresaw that my colleagues would completely lose their trust in me. As someone involved in planning, you committed the worst and prohibited act. I don't think there's a place left for you here. Do you understand? Yes. The meaning of those words became clear later in the form of a notice of appointment. I will be transferred to a less prestigious department. Don't give up, Michael. I'll convince the manager. Emily was the only one on my side amidst days filled with cold stares and near total isolation from the rest in the department. She advocated for my innocence, and even pleaded with the manager to reverse my transfer. Yet, despite her efforts, I coldly pushed her away. Just leave me alone. I'm fine. Don't say such sad things. You have the data used in your proposal right. Show that evidence to prove that plagiarism accusation is just drama. I don't understand why you aren't fighting for your innocence. I deleted that data a long time ago. Why? Even if I argue, who would believe me? They'd just say I stole the data. That's terrible. I'd rather leave here as soon as possible. I don't feel comfortable anymore. So please, don't do anything more for me. Despite my pushing her away, Emily never gave up advocating for my innocence to everyone. I will always be on Michael's side, she said, even though she began receiving cold looks herself. Her persistent support started to irritate me. And one night during overtime, my frustration finally exploded. Just stop. Leave me alone. Michael, you also believe I'm the culprit, don't you? Pretending to be good and acting like you're on my side for your self-satisfaction. Am I right? Frankly, it's annoying. What? Why would you say that? I don't want to say goodbye to you, Michael. As she said that, tears fell from Emily's eyes. Seeing her tears made me snap back to reality. I've gone too far, I thought, feeling a sudden chill. I'm sorry, Chief Emily. It's good nobody else is here. They would have been shocked. Emily, wiping her tears, didn't blame me for my harsh words. She understood why. She knows the reason why my highest education was high school. Michael, if you continue spending your days like this, you may find it challenging to contribute positively to society. Such was a prophecy given to me by a teacher in high school, where I was wildly out of control. I was involved in fights and reckless behavior at night, causing trouble for many people. My father gave up on me and lost hope in me. My mother believed in me until the last minute, though she eventually reached her limit when I caused a domestic violence incident at home. Since graduating high school, I haven't even been in contact with my parents. I thought even my own parents abandoned me, and I was destined to be a societal nuisance. Deciding to live life on my own terms, I spent years leading a self-indulgent lifestyle. I started various part-time jobs, only to quit after a short period. Sometimes, I even got fired for fighting with customers, which led me to sulk and drown my sorrows in alcohol. Do you want to live like this for the rest of your life? The teacher who made that prophecy asked me this when I was 23. He saw my horrible state by chance encounter and looked at me with serious, earnest eyes. For the first time, I intensely felt, no, I'm not okay with this. Following his advice, I registered with the staffing agencies. I began with simple manual labor. Then I gradually stepped up the nature of work I could handle. This led to a boost in confidence, and little by little, I began to see hope in my life. That's why, a year ago, I took a leap and accepted an offer to become a full-time employee at this company. But that was a mistake. In the end, I just learned a harsh lesson. A person who has caused so much trouble can't easily be trusted. The effort to gain trust was only exploited by those with malicious intentions. Then it's better not to try at all. Better to live thinking only about myself. Like before, without trusting anyone. I shouldn't have even met Emily. I'm just causing her trouble, after all. Actually, I am just causing trouble like this. As I finished saying that, at that very moment, I felt a sharp pain on my cheek. What? Idiot. Don't ever say that again. Emily, still with her hand raised from slapping me, was furious. Her presence was intimidating, especially given her natural beauty and aura. I instinctively straightened my back. Listen, it was me who chose you. I believed you could excel as a member of the planning department. Can you still say you're not trusted by anyone? That's... Indeed, I owed Emily a lot. She recommended hiring me as a regular employee just as my term contract was about to end. Yet, I still don't understand why. Why would she decide a high school graduate term employee with no particular skills and a troubled past as her subordinate? That's because of your feedback on my project. You said yucky about a product I planned. Don't you remember? During lunch break, you were eating our bread, and I asked you if it was good. You immediately shook your head. Emily chuckled, her face reflecting a sense of nostalgia. Back then, she allegedly had annoyed and asked me, "Then why isn't it tasty?" In response to that, I said, "Despite you being a mere term employee, you gave me your honest opinion without any flattery." That's what caught my attention. Oh, that did happen, didn't it? It might sound rude to say it's surprising that a mere term employee could provide such precise and spot-on feedback. Back then, I was newly promoted as chief, labeled as the first female manager candidate and the top hit maker of the planning department, and I was quite full of myself. I didn't listen to anyone's opinions and ended up producing one bad project after another. It was a wake-up call for me. I realized I shouldn't just chase appearances but create bread that people genuinely find delicious. I wanted to do that with you, Michael. Emily valued my attitude of not pandering to others and my ability to analyze what was in front of me. That's why she recommended me for a full-time position. But she said there was more to it than just that, because I was once saved. Saved. When I was in high school, a man was bothering me at a station, and I was in trouble. A boy who happened to be nearby quickly drove the man away and then told me to be clear if I don't like something. If I hadn't met him, I might still hate myself today. Being able to speak my mind and work hard at a job I love is thanks to his words. I was always struggling, but that cool boy saved me. But what does that memory have to do with me? When I asked that question, Emily evasively apologized, putting her hands together and saying, "Sorry for hitting you. Anyone can change if there's a catalyst. You changed once, didn't you?" Triggered by her teacher's words. That's... I believe in you. I'm happy I met you at this company. I want to keep working with you, Michael. Emily spoke slowly yet firmly, as if trying to convince me. Each of her words strangely resonated straight to my heart, as if those were the words I had always wanted to hear. Do you still think it would have been better if you hadn't met me, Michael? No. I'm glad I met you, Emily. My voice trembled as I spoke those heartfelt words. Meeting her gave me a chance to change once more. Today was the catalyst for that change. I will change. First, I need to start believing in myself. It felt strangely refreshing to look up and face someone directly, something I hadn't done in a long time. I declared this to Emily with a clear sense of purpose. She smiled warmly and nodded. I've been waiting to hear those words. Then, let's do our best. Saying this, she pulled something out of the pocket of her blazer. 1 week later, in a conference room, David didn't even try to hide his true nature. What do you want? I'm busy, you know. The project from the other day got approved for product development. Well, high school grads can be a little useful. It's kind of a shame that you're leaving, Michael. I won't have anyone convenient to use. I'm not just some convenient tool. Huh? David twisted his face in mockery at my words. Hiring high school graduates as full-time employees was just to provide convenience for the college-educated staff. There was no other benefit to hiring these employees. It's a win-win, right? High school grads like you get to be regular employees, and we get to take it easy. Though most of the time, they're not useful. I wish the next one will be as dumb as you, but not too dumb. Otherwise they can be used. A moderately dumb person who can still work would be ideal. Getting carried away, David kept babbling on, his malicious thoughts overflowing freely. And then, the conversation reached its critical point. By the way, about the recent project, Emily praised it too. She said it was a brilliant idea, a guaranteed hit. I wonder if she finally noticed my charm. Thanks a lot, Michael. I'll take responsibility for commercializing your project. So, You can go to your new less prestigious position without worry. And hey, just leave quietly, okay? Even if you tell someone, no one's going to believe you anyway." A murmur coming from a high school grad. The trust isn't there. David's laughter echoed throughout the conference room. He boasted that my transfer was all according to his own scheme, and he was annoyed that Emily paid more attention to me than him. Serves you right. That's what you get for getting cocky as a high school grad. What if there was evidence? What? If there's evidence, you'd believe my words, right? Before David could respond, I took something out of my pocket and placed it on the table. Seeing that, David exclaimed, "What?" and hastily covered his mouth in panic. But it was too late. I've recorded everything. All the conversations since I entered the room. What? I held up the recorder in front of speechless David and pressed the play button. It plays his voice full of insults towards me, and more importantly, his confession of stealing the project. "It was Emily who advised me to call you here. She said to make you confess the plagiarism and gave me this recorder." "Michael, why are you talking like that?" "Wait, you said Emily just now." "Thank you. This should make them believe me, even someone like me." David started trembling as I walked past him, putting the recorder back in my pocket. Suddenly, he grabbed my shoulder. "Wait, what are you going to do with that?" "Of course, I'm going to prove my innocence. I need to do this to earn trust again." "Don't. That means I'd lose trust instead." David shouted and lunged at me. In desperation, he attempted to grab the recorder, forcibly shoved his hand into my pocket. "Stop it, David. Shut up. Just give it to me." It was during this scuffle that a heavy male voice echoed, "Enough, David." David froze as the manager's voice rang out. "Manager?" And, "How disgraceful, David, to resort to this now." Emily, the woman David admired, looked at him with contempt. Losing all will to fight, David collapsed to his knees. Here's the evidence of what David has been doing all this time. Emily laid out a stack of documents in front of all my colleagues in the planning department. The document revealed that many employees had suffered at David's hands like me and had left the company. Emily had gathered testimonies about David's misdeeds from these former employees. David did that. I can't believe it. This isn't a joke, Emily. You can get away with it if it is. My colleagues were visibly confused and reluctant to accept the truth. It showed how thoroughly David had hidden his true nature. But what about his own words? Here's a recording. It has David himself admitting to stealing my project. "Stop it, stop!" David yelled. Before David could grab me, I pressed the play button on the recorder. The conversation that flowed from it left my colleagues speechless. Soon, a buzzing commotion spread throughout the office. "I have a recording too, David. Shall I play it?" Emily said. "No, it's not like that, Emily. Guys, you believe me, right? This is a conspiracy by Michael, who's jealous of my success." David desperately pleaded while looking at each colleague, his face pale. But all he received in return were cold stares from everyone, including the manager. "It seems I lack judgment in assessing my subordinates. I apologize you, Michael, and to those employees who left because of this." The manager was deeply shocked and remorseful. Apologies from my colleagues, who had been skeptical of me, followed one after another. Those who had left because of David must have felt vindicated. As for me, my innocence had proven. "It's enough for me." The manager said, "David, there are things I need to discuss with you. Come with me." "Yes." David, with his shoulders slumped, was led to another room by the manager. Later on, David's punishment was finalized. He was reassigned to a factory in a rural area, and my transfer cancellation was included. Reportedly, he couldn't handle the drastic change at his new workplace and voluntarily resigned in less than a month. "Thank you, Emily." I expressed my gratitude to her for gathering testimonies from David's victims, and most importantly, for believing in me. After my innocence was proven, I expressed my gratitude to Emily. Surprisingly, she responded with unexpected words. "Thank you, too, for what you did 10 years ago." 10 years ago? Yes. Don't you remember? You saved me back then. Suddenly, a clear memory resurfaced in my mind. I was at the station waiting for a train to hang out at a friend's house, who was also a thug. There was a high school girl with flashy hair and makeup being bothered by a man. Even as the man put his arm around her, she remained silent, looking at the ground whole time. But I didn't overlook those eyes. Tears were brimming, as if they were about to overflow any moment. My body moved on its own accord. If you don't like it, just say no. After driving the man away, I said that to her. Right after that, I boarded the train and departed from the station as soon as it arrived at the platform, even though she seemed like she wanted to say something. That high school girl was you, Emily. Seeing my jaw-dropping surprise, Emily, now with black hair and a much more refined appearance, chuckled. Back then, I was terrible at speaking up for myself. I was hanging out with punks to relieve the stress of not being able to assert myself, though I was more like their errand girl. Thanks to you, I found the courage to leave that group. I started making friends in my class, told my teachers and parents about the university I wanted to attend. So, thank you, truly. Emily showed her sincere appreciation to me. Then she confessed, I've had a crush on you since then. You were like a hero to me, the boy who saved me. When I realized that the boy was actually near me all this time, I liked you even more. Blushing, she made this confession. Your face is all red, Michael. So is yours, Emily. We looked at each other and then burst into laughter. Seeing her shy smile, my heart skipped a beat. Please, let's collaborate more closely from now on. Hearing my mumbled words, Emily's eyes widened. Then she smiled radiantly. Sure, I'm in. If you don't like something, say it outright. I have completely forgotten the words I once said to a girl I didn't know. I haven't been able to express myself, thinking I'm just not good enough, giving up on various things in a self-deprecating manner. It was because I didn't believe in my potential and the efforts I had made. Naturally, if I didn't believe in myself, others wouldn't either. I started by believing in myself. Gradually, more and more people began to believe in me, and now I'm working on a major project with colleagues who trust each other. The leader of our team is the woman who means more to me than anyone else. Supporting her and being supported in return, I want to continue creating great projects. I believe that the products we make will surely bring smiles to many people.